The neural interface crackled with hostile static as another mining consortium declared bankruptcy. Kalen Vorthik didn't flinch his cybernetic eye, merely adjusted its luminosity as he processed the financial ruin of 12,000 alien workers, with the same emotional investment he'd give to spoiled rations. The massive viewport of his private office aboard Proxima Station revealed the cold beauty of space, stars scattered like diamonds on black velvet, while behind him, holographic displays painted the walls with scrolling data streams of his ever-expanding corporate empire. Sir, the Hegemony Council is requesting another audience, his AI assistant, Aria, announced through the station's speakers. The artificial voice carried more warmth than Kalen had expressed in decades. "Tell them what I told them yesterday, and the day before that," Kalen replied, his voice carrying the weight of authority that had crushed entire civilization's economic systems. "Humans don't negotiate with extortionists." At 43 standard years, Kalen Vorthik commanded the largest human-owned corporation in the galaxy Vorthik Dynamics. His empire stretched across 17 solar systems, mining operations on 43 worlds, and enough political influence to make entire alien governments tremble. Yet the man himself remained as distant and untouchable as the void between stars. His reputation preceded him like a shadow. The human who had single-handedly revolutionized interstellar commerce while maintaining emotional barriers thicker than neutron star holes. The massive blast doors to his office whispered open, admitting his head of operations, a nervous Zilurian named Kickstar, whose scales shifted from green to anxious yellow. "Mr. Vorthik, the medical bay is requesting immediate authorization for whatever it costs." "Approve it," Kalen interrupted without looking up from his holographic stock reports. "Healthy workers are productive workers." "Sir, it's not about cost. There's been an accident in Sector 7. A human worker." Kickstar as antennae twitched with discomfort. "She's in critical condition, but she's refusing treatment. Says she can't afford the medical debt." For the first time in hours, Kalen's fingers paused over his neural interface controls. A human worker on his station couldn't afford medical treatment? The irony wasn't lost on him. The richest human in known space employed humans who lived paycheck to paycheck. But business was business, and sentimentality was a luxury he'd abandoned long ago. "Transfer her to the premium medical wing," he said finally. "Full treatment, my personal account." Kickstar's scales brightened to surprised orange. "Sir, that's unprecedented. The board will question such expenditure on a single worker." Kalen's cybernetic eye focused on his operations chief with mechanical precision. "The board questions nothing I do. See to it." As Kickstar scurried away, Kalen found himself staring at the worker's file that had appeared on his peripheral display. Lyrian Solace, age 29, engineering specialist, perfect. Work record, no family contacts listed. The holographic image showed a woman with determined eyes and calloused hands, the kind of person who built the infrastructure that supported his empire while he counted profits from his ivory tower. Something stirred in the depths of his memory. A fragment of warmth from before the cybernetic implants, before the corporate battles, before he'd learned that emotions were weaknesses to be excised like tumors. He dismissed the feeling with practiced efficiency, but the image of Lyrian Solace lingered on his display longer than strictly necessary. Outside his viewport, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to human struggles, while somewhere, in the medical wing, a woman fought for her life unaware that her fate had just become entangled with the coldest heart in the galaxy. The premium medical wing of Proxima Station hummed with the quiet efficiency of advanced alien technology. Biobeds surrounded by holographic monitors that painted the sterile walls with soft blue light. Kalen Vorthik stood in the corridor, his presence commanding despite his attempt at anonymity. Medical staff gave him wide berths, Recognizing the man whose decisions could reshape entire economies with a gesture. Dr. Melik San, the station's chief medical officer, approached with the cautious gait of someone delivering news to a man who could purchase solar systems. The insectoid alien's compound eyes reflected the corridor's lighting as she spoke in careful, measured tones. Mr. Vorthik, the patient's injuries were severe internal bleeding, multiple fractures, neural trauma. The mining equipment malfunction in Sector 7 was extensive. Her mandibles clicked nervously. However, she's responding well to treatment. Remarkable resilience for a human. Kellen's expression remained carved from stone. When will she be cleared for discharge? 3 days, perhaps 4? But, sir, there's a complication. Dr. Malik Zan's antennae twitched. She's been asking about the medical costs. When I informed her that her treatment was being covered by your personal account, she became agitated. Through the bioglass window, Kalen observed Lyrian Solace for the first time in person. Even connected to life support systems, her bearing suggested someone accustomed to fighting her own battles. Her hair caught the medical bay's soft lighting, and her eyes, those same determined eyes from her personnel file, tracked the alien medical staff with sharp intelligence. She wants to see me, Kalen said. It wasn't a question. She's demanded to see you, sir, quite forcefully. The bio-bay doors whispered open as Kalen entered, his footsteps silent on the specialized flooring. Lyrian's eyes locked onto his immediately, and he felt something unexpected, a jolt of recognition that had nothing to do with her personnel file. You're him, she said, her voice hoarse but carrying an undercurrent of steel. The Ice King himself. Ms. Solace, I trust your treatment. Is satisfactory? She struggled to sit up despite the biobed's protests, medical readings spiking on nearby monitors. I don't want your charity, Vorthik. I can pay my own way. On an engineering specialist's salary? The treatment you've received costs more than you earn in 5 years. Then I'll work it off. Extra shifts, overtime, whatever it takes. Her jaw set with stubborn determination. I don't owe anyone anything, especially not you. Kalen found himself studying her with an intensity that surprised him. Most people either cowered before his reputation or tried to curry favor. Lyrian Solace did neither. She met his gaze with unflinching directness that reminded him of staring into a solar flare. Why? The question emerged before he could analyze its implications. Why what? Why refuse help when it's freely given? Lyrian's laugh held no humor. Nothing's free in your universe, Tycoon. There's always a price, always strings attached. I've seen what happens to people that tangled up in corporate generosity. Her words struck something deep within him, a recognition he didn't want to acknowledge. She was right, of course. In his world, every gift came with invisible chains. Every kindness masked a transaction. But something about her defiance kindled a warmth he'd thought permanently extinguished. Perhaps, he said carefully, we could discuss alternative arrangements. Such as? You're wasted in the mining sectors. Your engineering scores indicate capabilities far beyond your current assignment. Kalen moved closer to her bio-bed, drawn by an impulse he couldn't name. I have projects that require someone with your particular combination of skills and integrity. Lyrian's eyes narrowed. You're offering me a job to pay off a medical debt I never asked for? I'm offering you an opportunity. And what makes you think I want opportunities from someone who treats human life like commodity trading? The accusation hit harder than it should have. Kalen felt his carefully constructed emotional barriers strain under the weight of her directness. Because, he heard himself saying, you're the first person in 20 years who's looked at me and seen something worth challenging. The medical bay fell silent except for the quiet hum of life support systems. Lyrian studied his face with the Same intensity she'd probably used to diagnose faulty equipment, searching for deception or manipulation. Instead, she found something that surprised them both: vulnerability, carefully hidden but unmistakably real. "One chance," she said finally. "But the first time you try to own me like you own everything else, I walk." Kaylin nodded, unsure why. Her conditions felt more like a lifeline than a negotiation, that the executive engineering division occupied an entire deck of Proxima Station, its corridors lined with holographic displays showcasing humanity's greatest technological achievements. Lyrian Solace walked beside Kaylin Vorthik, her movements still careful from recent injuries, but her eyes sharp as she absorbed every detail of her new environment. "Your project parameters are deliberately vague," she observed, reviewing the data tablet he'd provided. "Advanced propulsion research, theoretical applications, unlimited budget. Either you don't know what you want, or you're not telling me everything." Kellen's expression remained neutral, but something in his bearing suggested amusement. "When was the last time you encountered unlimited resources for pure research, Miss Solace?" "Never, which makes me suspicious." They entered a vast laboratory space that took Lyrian's breath away. Advanced fabrication units lined the walls. Quantum computers hummed with barely contained energy, and in the center stood a partially constructed engine core that defied conventional physics. The design was elegant, revolutionary, and utterly impossible by current understanding. "What is this?" she whispered, approaching the engine core with reverence typically reserved for religious artifacts. "The future," Kaylin replied. "Or perhaps humanity's extinction. The calculations suggest either outcome is equally probable." Lyrian's hands traced the air around the engine core, her engineering instincts cataloging every component. "This is an Alcubierre variant, but the energy requirements. You'd need to harness a star. Unless someone could solve the exotic matter problem." She spun to face him, her expression a mixture of excitement and terror. "You're talking about faster than light travel. Real FTL, not the jump gates the aliens control. The Hegemony Council maintains their stranglehold on interstellar travel. By controlling jump gate technology," Kaylin explained, moving to stand beside her, "humanity remains dependent on alien infrastructure, alien permissions, alien oversight. This engine could change everything, or destroy us all." Lyrian moved closer to the engine core, her scientific curiosity overriding caution. "The power levels involved. One miscalculation, and you could crack a planet. Which is why I need someone who understands both the possibilities and the risks." For the next several hours, they worked side by side, Lyrian questioning every aspect of the design, while Kaylin provided resources and support with quiet efficiency. She watched him carefully, expecting to see signs of the ruthless corporate predator from the stories, but finding instead a man whose passion for human advancement ran as deep as his reputation for cold calculation. "Why me?" she asked during a break, as they shared simple rations in the laboratory's break area. "You could hire entire teams of specialists, Nobel laureates, the best minds in human space." Kaylin considered the question while observing her through his cybernetic eyes' analytical overlay. The readout provided her vital statistics, stress levels, and probability assessments for various responses, but told him nothing about the woman herself. "Teams of specialists think in committees," he said finally. "They compromise, they politicize, they protect their reputations. You think like an engineer. You see problems and solve them. And you think I'll be grateful enough to ignore the moral implications? I think you're intelligent enough to understand them." Lyrian studied his face, searching for deception. "This project could make you the most powerful human in the galaxy. Independent FTL means humanity doesn't need alien infrastructure, alien permissions. You could control all human expansion. Yes, his Simple acknowledgement carried no pride or satisfaction, only weary acceptance of responsibility. Lyrian felt something shift in her perception of him, a recognition that the man before her carried burdens she'd never considered. The loneliness must be crushing, she said quietly. Callan's cybernetic eye flickered, its analytical overlay struggling to process her sudden shift to personal observation. Loneliness is a luxury. Leaders can't afford emotional indulgences. Everyone can afford loneliness, Callan. Some people just choose to call it by different names. The use of his first name hung in the air between them, like a bridge neither had expected to cross. For a moment, his carefully constructed barriers wavered, revealing glimpses of the man beneath the corporate armor. The project will require long hours, he said, retreating to safer ground. Months of theoretical work before we can attempt even basic testing. I understand. You'll have access to my personal laboratory, unlimited resources, complete autonomy in your research methods. And in return, solve the impossible. Lyrian smiled, and Callan felt warmth spread through his chest, and sensation so foreign he nearly activated his medical monitors to check for system failures. Her smile transformed her entire face, revealing the passionate scientist beneath the cautious worker. And for the first time in decades, Callan Vorthik wondered if perhaps he'd been calculating the wrong variables all along, outside the laboratories. Viewports, alien vessels moved through Proxima Station's approach vectors, their alien crews unaware that two humans were laying the groundwork for humanity's independence from their carefully constructed hegemony. 3 months into the project, Lyrian solace had transformed Callan's sterile laboratory into something resembling organized chaos. Holographic equations floated in mid-air, exotic matter samples hummed in containment fields, and the prototype engine core had evolved into something that challenged the fundamental laws of physics with elegant audacity. Callan found himself spending increasingly more time in the laboratory, ostensibly overseeing the project's progress, but actually drawn by something he couldn't quantify. Lyrian worked with passionate intensity, her movements graceful as she navigated between theoretical calculations and practical engineering challenges. Watching her solve problems became a form of meditation he'd never expected to need. The quantum field fluctuations are stabilizing, she announced, her voice carrying exhausted triumph. But the power coupling sequence needs complete redesign. Current alien technology can't handle the energy transfer rates. Then we design our own, Callan replied, moving to examine her latest calculations. His shoulder brushed hers as he leaned over the holographic display, and both felt the electric contact with surprising intensity. You make it sound simple. Most impossible things are simple. The complexity comes from everyone else telling you why they can't be done. Lyrian turned to face him, suddenly aware of their proximity. Is that your secret? Ignoring everyone who says impossible? Partially. His cybernetic eye dimmed its analytical overlay, allowing him to see her without digital interpretation for the first time. The other part is finding the right person to prove them wrong. The laboratory's atmospheric processors hummed quietly around them, creating an intimate bubble of warmth in the vast technical space. Lyrian studied Callan's face, noting how his features softened when he wasn't consciously maintaining his corporate mask. You're different here, she observed. In the laboratory, less titanium and more human. Dangerous observation, Miss Solace. Lyrian. And why dangerous? Because humans are unpredictable. Titanium is reliable. She reached out, her fingers tracing the edge of his cybernetic implant where it interfaced with organic tissue. The contact sent unexpected signals through his neural network, overriding safety protocols he'd installed to prevent exactly this kind of vulnerability. What happened to you? She asked softly. Before the implants, before the Empire. What turned Callan into Vorthik dynamics? The question struck deeper than any corporate espionage or hostile takeover attempt. Kalen felt his emotional barriers strain under the weight of memories he'd spent decades suppressing. That man died a long time ago. I don't think so. I think he's been waiting. For what? For someone to prove that titanium isn't stronger than the human heart. Before he could analyze the implications or engage defensive protocols, Lyrian kissed him. The contact was soft, tentative, but it triggered cascading system failures throughout his emotional control networks. 20 years of careful conditioning unraveled in seconds, leaving him exposed and vulnerable in ways that terrified him more than any corporate warfare. When they separated, Kellen's cybernetic eye flickered frantically, its analytical subroutines struggling to process data that couldn't be quantified or categorized. "This complicates everything," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Good," Lyrian replied. "Complications make life interesting. They also make it dangerous. My enemies would use you against me without hesitation. Let them try." Her confidence was absolute, backed by the same determination that had driven her to solve impossible engineering problems. Kalen felt something fundamental shift in his worldview, as if she'd recalibrated his perception of risk and reward. The project will succeed or fail based on the science, not on what happens between us. Lyrian moved back to her calculations, but her awareness of him remained heightened, electric. "Unless you're having second thoughts about trusting me with unlimited resources?" "No second thoughts," Kalen admitted, "but significant recalculations." Over the following hours, they worked, with new synchronization, their personal breakthroughs somehow translating into technical progress. The engine core design achieved theoretical stability for the first time. Exotic matter requirements dropped to manageable levels, and the power coupling problems resolved themselves through elegant mathematical solutions that neither could have reached alone. "It's working," Lyrian breathed, staring at the holographic projections that showed successful FTL field generation. "The calculations are holding. We've actually done it." Kalen watched her triumph with something approaching wonder. "We've proven it's theoretically possible. Testing will require different challenges. But it's possible. Humanity could be free of alien jump gates within a decade, if the Hegemony Council doesn't destroy us first." Lyrian's expression sobered as she considered the implications. Their breakthrough represented more than technological advancement. It threatened the fundamental power structure that kept humanity dependent on alien infrastructure. "They'll try to stop us," she said. "They'll try to stop me," Kalen corrected. "You could disappear, take new identity, live safely somewhere they'll never find you, and leave you to face them alone? It's what I do, Lyrian. What I've always done." She moved closer, her hand finding his. "Not anymore." The Hegemony Council's war fleet materialized at Proxima Station's perimeter, exactly as Kellen's intelligence networks had predicted. 36 alien vessels representing 7 species, their combined firepower sufficient to sterilize entire worlds. Through his office viewport, he watched the graceful death dance of ships positioning for siege, their exotic hulls reflecting Proxima's pale light. "Sir, they're demanding unconditional surrender," Aria announced, her artificial voice tinged with something approaching concern. "All research materials, all personnel involved in the FTL project, and your personal appearance before the Hegemony Tribunal." "Counteroffer," Kalen replied calmly, his fingers dancing across holographic control interfaces. "They withdraw immediately, or I demonstrate why threatening humans is inadvisable." In the laboratory 3 decks below, Lyrian Solace put the finishing touches on their desperate gambit. The prototype FTL engine had been integrated with Proxima Station's massive power grid, transforming the entire facility into humanity's first faster-than-light capable structure. The engineering challenges had been staggering, but she'd solved them with the same determination that had first caught Kellen's attention. "Field generators are online," she reported through their private communication channel. But Kalen, the power requirements will have one shot at this. Maybe. One shot is all we need. The blast doors to his office whispered open, admitting Kickstar and a delegation of alien dignitaries, whose species he recognized from intelligence briefings. The Zilurian scales had shifted to deep purple with stress, while his companions displayed various physiological signs of extreme agitation. Mr. Vorthik, the lead alien, spoke in heavily accented Standard. You must understand the impossibility of your position. Independent human FTL technology threatens the stability of the entire galactic order. Your galactic order, Kalen corrected, not bothering to turn from his viewport observation of the alien fleet. Humanity never consented to permanent technological dependency. Consent is irrelevant. Some technologies are too dangerous for primitive species. The casual dismissal of human intelligence sparked something violent in Kellen's chest, a protective fury he'd never experienced before meeting Lyrian. These beings viewed humanity as useful animals, fit for labor but incapable of true advancement. Primitive? He finally turned, his cybernetic eye focusing with mechanical precision on each alien. Delegate. We've solved exotic matter manipulation. We've achieved stable Alcubierre field generation. We've accomplished in months what your species have declared impossible for millennia. Stolen technology, another alien interjected. Reverse engineered. From superior designs. Prove it. The challenge hung in the air like a thrown gauntlet. The alien delegates exchanged glances, their various forms of communication creating a susurrus of clicks, whistles, and pheromone releases that his translation systems struggled to interpret. Regardless, the lead delegate continued, you will surrender all research materials and submit to hegemony judgment. Your station is surrounded, your position hopeless. Is it? Kalen activated his personal communicator with deliberate theatricality. Ms. Solace, please demonstrate our position to our guests. Far below in the laboratory, Lyrian initiated the FTL field generation sequence. Proxima Station shuddered as exotic energy coursed through its superstructure, reality bending around the massive facility like water around a stone. The alien delegates staggered as artificial gravity fluctuated, their expressions shifting from arrogance to alarm. Impossible. One whispered, the energy requirements alone, ... Humans specialize in the impossible, Kalen replied. We turn war into commerce, scarcity into abundance, chaos into civilization. Did you really think we'd accept permanent servitude? The station's shuddering intensified as the FTL field reached critical stability. Through the viewport, this alien war fleet appeared to stretch and distort, their positions becoming uncertain as space-time itself began to reshape around Proxima Station. Field generation successful, Lyrian's voice carried triumph and exhaustion in equal measure. We're sitting in a stable Alcubierre bubble. Any attempt to attack us will simply accelerate us to faster-than-light velocities. The lead alien delegates. Translator implants sparked with overload as it struggled to process the implications. You're bluffing. No species has ever weaponized FTL fields. No species has ever been desperate enough, Kalen corrected. But humans have something your species appear to lack, the willingness to risk everything for freedom. The alien fleet began withdrawing to safe distances, their commanders apparently reaching the same conclusion as the delegates. Proxima Station had become untouchable, wrapped in physics that could destroy attackers and defenders alike. This is not over, the lead delegate warned. The Hegemony Council will never accept human independence. The Hegemony Council will learn to adapt, Kalen replied. Or they'll discover why predators avoid cornered prey. After the delegates departed, Kalen made his way to the laboratory where Lyrian waited, her hands steady on the FTL control systems, despite the magnitude of what they'd accomplished. She looked up as he entered, her expression a mixture of exhilaration and uncertainty. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it. We declared war on the entire galaxy," Kalen corrected, moving to stand beside her. "The easy part is over." "What's the hard part?" "Living long enough to enjoy our freedom." 1 year later, the human independence fleet hung in space around New Geneva, humanity's first FTL-capable colony ship, its exotic drives humming with contained power that would have been unimaginable just months before. Kalen Vorthik stood on the flagship's bridge, but the title on his uniform read Admiral rather than CEO, a transformation that surprised no one more than himself. The Hegemony Council's attempts at economic warfare had backfired spectacularly. Humanity's sudden FTL capability had triggered a cascade of independence movements among other primitive species, and the galaxy's carefully maintained power structure was crumbling like a house built on sand. Trade routes had shifted, alliances had reformed, and for the first time in millennia, the ancient alien powers found themselves negotiating as equals rather than dictating as superiors. Long-range sensors are detecting another delegation approaching, reported Commander Yixtel, a former hegemony officer who defected after witnessing humanity's technological breakthrough. The Cetacean Collective this time. They're requesting an audience about FTL licensing agreements. "Tell them what we told the others," Kalen replied without looking up from the tactical displays. "Humanity shares technology with allies, not with species that spent centuries treating us as subjects." In the flagship's advanced engineering section, Lyrian Solace supervised the construction of the next generation FTL drives that would power humanity's expansion into previously inaccessible regions of the galaxy. Her team consisted of humans and aliens working in unprecedented cooperation, united by scientific curiosity rather than political dominance. "The Mark IV drives are testing at 97% efficiency," she reported through their private communication channel. "We'll be ready for the deep space colonization program ahead of schedule." "Any problems with the mixed species engineering teams?" "Only the good kind. Turns out alien physics and human ingenuity make interesting combinations." Kalen smiled, an expression that had become increasingly common over the past year. The transformation from corporate titan to military leader to something approaching humanitarian had been gradual but profound, driven by the realization that power meant nothing without someone to share it with. "Admiral," Commander Yixtal interrupted, "priority message from Earth Central. They're requesting your presence at the Global Unity Council." "What do they want now?" "Apparently, several hundred species are petitioning for inclusion in the human alliance. The paperwork alone is causing bureaucratic paralysis." Kellen's cybernetic eye flickered with amusement. Humanity had spent centuries as the galaxy's newest species, dependent on alien guidance for everything from interstellar law to basic technology. Now, suddenly, they found themselves at the center of a growing alliance of species seeking alternatives to hegemony control. "Tell Earth Central to establish standard protocols," he instructed. "Equal partnership, shared technology, mutual defense agreements. Anyone willing to treat humans as equals gets the same consideration in return." "And the Hegemony Councils?" "Latest threats? Empty posturing. They can't risk direct warfare with species that have FTL capability. Their entire power structure depends on controlling interstellar travel." That evening, Kalen found Lyrian in the flagship's observation deck, watching New Geneva's construction through the transparent aluminum viewport. The massive colony ship was nearly complete, its FTL drives integrated with living quarters for 50,000 colonists and agricultural systems that would make humanity's expansion self-sustaining. "Thinking about the future?" he asked, settling beside her on the observation bench. "Thinking about how quickly everything changed," she replied, leaning against his shoulder with comfortable familiarity. "A year ago, you were the loneliest man." in human space. Now you're leading an interstellar alliance. A year ago, I thought power meant isolation, Kalen admitted. You taught me that real strength comes from connection. You taught me that impossible problems just need the right resources and unlimited determination. They sat in comfortable silence, watching construction crews add final components to humanity's future. The colony ship represented more than expansion. It symbolized freedom from alien oversight, the right to determine humanity's destiny without external approval. The Hegemony Council will eventually adapt, Lyrian observed. They'll find ways to coexist with independent FT-Lee-capable species. Or they'll discover that the galaxy is big enough for multiple power structures, Kalen replied. Either way, humanity won't be asking permission anymore. And us? What about us? Do we stay with the fleet? Take command of colonial operations? Return to purely civilian research? Kalen considered the question while watching his cybernetic. Eyes analytical overlay process hundreds of possible futures. None of the probability matrices mattered, he realized. For the first time in his adult life, he was making decisions based on what he wanted rather than what analysis suggested was optimal. Whatever keeps us together, he said simply. The rest is just details. Lyrian smiled, the expression that had first convinced him to risk everything for an impossible dream. In that case, I vote for the colonial operations. New worlds, new challenges, unlimited resources for pure research. And if we encounter hostile species in the deep galaxy, then we'll prove again why threatening humans is inadvisable. Outside, the viewport, New Geneva's exotic drives flickered to life for final testing, their output visible as subtle distortions in the fabric of space-time itself. The site represented everything they'd accomplished, the transformation of theoretical possibility into practical reality, the evolution of corporate empire into something resembling actual leadership, and the discovery that even the coldest hearts could be warmed by the right person's tender care. Ready for the next impossible problem? Lyrian asked. With you? Always. As the human independence fleet prepared for its first deep space colonization mission, Kalen Vorthik and Lyrian Salas stood together, watching humanity's future take shape. 2. People who had learned that the most important discoveries weren't technological, but personal, and that the strongest barriers weren't physical, but emotional ones waiting to be overcome by someone brave enough to try. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would they. The E&D author's note. This HFY, Humanity F***, yeah. Story explores themes of human determination, technological innovation, and the power of personal connections to transform even the most isolated individuals. The narrative demonstrates humanity's refusal to accept limitations imposed by others, while showing how individual growth and romantic connection can drive species-wide advancement and liberation. Asterisk.